In my last one-page rules review video, I called one-page rules Firefight Kill Team but Simple. Surely, one-page rules Skirmish, the one-page rules body of works, small-scale fantasy combat system, will be Warcry but simple. To find out, I set out to play 20 games of one-page rules in a 3-round campaign, wherein... No, I'm not going to be doing that. Not this time. Here's the thing. If you've seen my Firefight review video, you will already know what you're in for. That is because the design framework of one-page rules Skirmish is identical to Firefight's. Simply put, they are the same system, using different sets of units with a few tweaked rules. As such, if you haven't yet, I recommend watching the Firefight video first before carrying on with this one. Consider this one a part 2 of my review for all of one-page rules. Before we start, it bears mentioning that I have still played a bit of Skirmish. I'm currently prepping for the upcoming release of 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, so my model prep has had a fantasy bias. You'll definitely be seeing these models again once I cover 5 Leagues from the Borderlands. This batch of models is at around 18mm, so I played OPR with measurements halved on a 2x2 foot board. Those are incidentally the kitchen table rules. I initially planned to play 12 games of one-page rules Skirmish, starting a mini-campaign at 200 points. Once I was 6 games into Skirmish, a total of 26 games into small-scale one-page rules, I decided that the system had shown me all of its tricks. One-page rules Skirmish differentiates itself from Firefight by having its own set of army books that operate on a different combat paradigm. Firefight's setting is grim, dark future, so the army books there are focused appropriately on ranged firefights. Skirmish, as you would expect from a fantasy system, deals more in melee combat. The meat of the game lies squarely in your dudes bonking each other over the head. Now, my tone opening this video might suggest that I do not appreciate Skirmish as a system. On the contrary, I actually vastly prefer it to Firefight, because I think one-page rules at this level is just better at being a melee game. In the Firefight video, I praised the lack of a locked-in melee state, and that praise is multiplied in Skirmish because of the potential for a complex melee entanglement. Even on a relatively open board, approaching a clash of forces can be an engaging puzzle. In Firefight, playing with scenario objectives can feel secondary. The system's high lethality makes the utter tabling of one side a frequent occurrence. Unless you are running elves, Skirmish will greatly reduce the game's threat ranges. This makes going for map control a far more viable option. In the Firefight video, I touch on the optional rules that modify the way the game activates. In my games of Skirmish, I tested them out. Of these rules, you have Ebb and Flow, Shifting Focus, and Combat Fatigue. Shifting Focus is fine, it's alright, but I find that Combat Fatigue can be a spot too frustrating to use, since it can straight up take away activations. Of the 3, I'd say Ebb and Flow is the best one. It provides a pleasant amount of tactility because of the mystery bag, and provides a measure of predictability to offset the new randomness. Now, one-page rules in general does a great job of curbing the biggest issue with alternating activations, which is specifically the activation economy problem. But by using Ebb and Flow, it deals with one more issue. Having the alternating scheme in its most basic form can make the order of the game very predictable, and it will make it so you always have a limited amount of optimal pathways to take within the context of any given activation. This has the subtle effect of making the game feel like it is on a set of rails as you go through the optimal tactical choices in what is a very narrow flowchart. This is why most published rulebooks that go for an alternating format will not keep the basic format. They will add in something to spice it up. Ebb and Flow, for example, adds in an extra layer of randomization which obscures the game's initiative track. It completely changes the game's moment-to-moment strategic texture, in my opinion, for the better. There are a fair few more rules that add to the one-page rules experience that I have yet to cover, mostly because I feel they make the game a spot too fiddly or they just haven't grabbed my attention. What I will comment on is what I consider to be the best reason to sign up to the One Page Rules Patreon. There are of course the models, and those are cool. They are the main selling point of the $10 tier. Just going for the $5 tier will get you a link to all of One Page Rules' paid rulebook. Now, I think this is a better option than just buying all the rulebooks through Wargame Vault, because as is, the rulebooks for Skirmish and Firefight in particular are distressingly similar. Given that, I would have been far more negative in this review had I paid the $5 for each of these rulebooks. But I digress. The best reason for signing up to the Patreon at this tier, however, is One Page Rules' very dryly named Point Calculator. This is a tool that can let you make custom units. If you're willing to do some light rules writing and playtesting, it can let you make entire factions. The tool comes in a crunchy, mathy PDF form or a much easier to use online calculator. For this playtest, one of my factions was entirely custom made, tweaked to value a specific theme and playstyle, and they were great. This is a very engaging feature. Being given an easily accessible way to create carefully considered, lovingly customized rules for these models I am very fond of has so far been the highlight of my engagement with One Page Rules. At the moment, that will wrap up my coverage of this section of One Page Rules. I had intended for this review to be a smidge more comprehensive, but to be honest, given the 26 games over a 2-month period, I am very close to not wanting to play Skirmish or Firefight ever again. And I don't want that to be the case. They can be good fun. Skirmish in particular, I personally prefer Skirmish. I am going to do at least 2 more videos covering One Page Rules. One for Regiments, which is currently my favorite of the OPR systems, and another for the main event, Grim Dark Future. There is also going to be the dedicated solo system, Sellswords, which is currently in production. That's actually looking like the most mechanically interesting thing to come out of One Page Rules so far, so I'm definitely going to cover that one. Let's see what else. I might do Warfleets. I might do the Blood Bowl one. I'm not gonna bother with the campaign stuff unless like 200 people ask for it. And it looks like that is us. Until next time folks, thank you very much for watching.